Continuing on with our series on crop development, we're going to talk about sudden death syndrome on soybeans. It's becoming quite noticeable out in the fields in the southwest. It is a soil-borne fungal pathogen that invades the seedling root system very early on in the season. The species is a type of Fusarium virguliforme. Infection is favored by soil environmental conditions that slow crop development early in the season, and slow cold emergent conditions is what gives an opportunity for the fungus to get started. And the longer it takes for crops to emerge, the more the disease can get established. There are no resistant varieties out there, but there are differences amongst varieties, so it's worth being out in the field to notice those today. The root rot produces a phytotoxin in the roots, and as the plants grow and the canopy develops and transpiration increases, that toxin starts to get flushed from the roots up to the leaves, and more so when you have rains in July. And once that toxin is in the leaves, it starts to degrade the chlorophyll, and that's when we start to see the yellowing in certain spots in the field, and that yellowing will eventually turn into dead leaves or necrotic leaves, and they fall off, leaving the petioles behind. So in a field, we observe a few wilted plants. When you get up close, you see those yellow leaves, and then you see the different stages of the toxin working on different plants, from the yellowing through to dead leaves. There is a look-alike disease out there called brown stem rot, and it's worth noticing the difference. And if you split the stems open on a sudden death syndrome, the pith will be white. And on brown stem rot, as the name implies, that center pith will be brown. It's worth noticing the difference because the management is much different between the two diseases. As the toxin works away on the leaves, especially if it comes in during the early reproductive stage, it's going to impact on yield more, because it's going to interfere with photosynthesis and lower the plant's ability to produce sugar. If the infection shows up later, like it is now in the R5.5 to R6, where the beans are filling the pod cavity, it'll be a little less impactful on yield because most of the yield's being formed already. So it might affect some bean weight, but it's not going to be nearly as bad if it came in earlier. So as the disease progresses through the season, and if the soils are wet when you're out there and you're digging up roots, you will see a metallic bluish green, slimy mold on the surface of the roots. Just confirms that it was indeed a sudden death syndrome. So to manage this crop, like most root rots, are always worse with pre-existing abiotic stresses like soil compaction and poor drainage and less than optimum nutrition. So make sure you're soil sampling and keeping your nutrients where they need to be, and do the things that you can to minimize compaction and improve drainage. More complex rotations will help. High frequency of soybeans just builds the inoculum even higher. And a corn-soybean rotation doesn't help much, as the inoculum can overwinter on corn stalks as well as it can on soybean residue. Early planting increases the chance for more infection, so if fields that are prone to it, maybe delaying planting if that's possible until the soil conditions support rapid emergence. Observe the incidence and severity of SDS on your current varieties, because there are differences out there. Follow through to yield, make sure that see what impact your observations have on final yield, and use that information to adjust your 2021 variety purchases. Check for soybean cyst nematode. Soybean cyst nematode will make root rots worse. It's not that it causes it, it's just that it's a facilitator. It allows an entry point where that female cyst is attaching to the root to allow diseases to get in, so it makes it a little easier. Seed treatments are very effective. There are two now. Olivo has been around for a while, and there's a new one just got registered called Sultro. So those are effective in reducing the incident severity. Yield impact will be more severe with accumulated stresses, and it'll depend on the size of the areas and relative to the field size. So within spots, you could have a 50% yield reduction, but depending on how many spots you have and the size of them relative to the field acres, you might only notice a 1 to 3 bushel average yield decline in the field. So now's the time to go out there, observe your varieties, take stock of your fertility levels with the current soil test, and make plans to adjust your variety purchases, and look at some of the things that can improve soil health and reduce compaction, improve drainage. So thanks for listening. That's all for now. Stay safe, stay healthy.